think it will concentrate minds pretty thoroughly now overnight. There's been a COBRA crisis emergency meeting happening in London, chaired by Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, to try and discuss how they now get the last remaining people out that they can, after which this whole airport operation will close down. And we're then into bigger issues like, are the Taliban going to rule harshly? Are they going to clamp down on terrorism?
Yes, let's end this hour with that final thought, because in terms of the implication, it falls into two categories, doesn't it? The short term around these final few days and security, and then the longer term.
I think the encouraging thing is that clearly the US is talking to the Taliban. It would be ridiculous, given the status quo, that the fact that the Taliban are in control of 98% of the country, it would be absurd for them not to be talking. So the CIA chief flew into Kabul, had a secret meeting a few days ago with the Taliban political chief, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. And that is very encouraging, because the two sides, the former two enemies, the adversaries, need to talk, and the Taliban-governed Afghanistan needs to stabilize, because the last thing that poor country needs now is another 20 years of conflict.
Thank God, our security correspondent. Thanks for being with me over the last hour, and I know you're going to stay with me in the coming minutes. Welcome, you're watching BBC News with me, Matthew Amreliwala. Let's stay with that breaking news. There's been a twin bomb attack with reports of gunfire outside Kabul airport as Western governments try to evacuate civilians from that city. Initial reports point to a suicide bombing. It's thought at least 13 people have been killed, including children. The US government says there have been American casualties. It comes as thousands had still been gathering outside of the airport despite clear warnings of an imminent attack. Hello and welcome to BBC News. Welcome to the programme. We're staying though with those events in Afghanistan. There has been a suicide bombing at Kabul airport in Afghanistan, where crowds were gathered in the hope of getting on to one of the last flights to escape Taliban rule. Taliban officials said at least 13 people were killed, and it comes after days of warnings from Western intelligence agencies that an attack at the airport could be imminent. Well, let me bring you right up to date in terms of what we know so far, because the spokesperson for the US Secretary of Defense has called it a complex attack that resulted in a number of American and Afghan casualties. Kabul's emergency hospital says 60 injured people have been taken there so far. The Pentagon has also confirmed at least 2 explosions which happened close to one another outside the perimeter of the airport. One blast happened close to the airport's Abbey Gate, and the other close to the nearby Barron Hotel. The hotel had been used by some Western nations as a staging point for evacuations since the airlift began. Well, our Afghan correspondent Secunda Kamani gave us this update in the last hour.
Details still emerging on this, but from what we understand, there was at least one explosion, as you say, close to the Abbey Gate entrance to the airport. Both British and American, as well as other international troops, had been stationed there. Large crowds of desperate Afghans had also been there trying to get inside the airport. Now, also getting reports that there was a second explosion close by, close to the secure compound where those being evacuated by the British embassy were being taken to. All suggestions at the moment that this attack was carried out by the Islamic State group. Western security services had warned all day about the possibility of an attack by IS, saying one was imminent. The group is much less powerful than the Taliban here in Afghanistan, but it has a history of carrying out devastating, horrific attacks, often on very soft targets. And this would have been a pretty soft target because of the chaos around the airport. Taliban forces have been there at times, checking some people's documents, filtering them into different queues. But every time I've been there, I've never seen people being patted down and searched. Even if they were patted down and searched, of course, by the time that a suicide bomber reaches that point, then it's too late, really, to prevent horrific casualties. Some video being shared online showing piles and piles of dead bodies. So expect those casualty figures to rise, unfortunately.
Secunda, as you're speaking, we're seeing some of the still images from the area with casualties being taken away. Obviously, the situation is still very, very fluid with information coming in. But what are you hearing about casualty numbers?
Well, it's difficult at the moment, partly because we're in a state of flux right now. So we still have a Serbian government health minister from the previous government, but obviously we have a new government, or we don't have a new government, but the Taliban are in charge. So information is not coming out in the way that it previously would have come out. But from what we're understanding from US sources, a number of US soldiers had been injured, reports of around 3 US soldiers being injured. Local media saying that 13 people were killed in total. I expect the vast majority of those victims to be ordinary Afghans. That's so often the case, been so often the case throughout this horrendous conflict, of course.
And Secunda, I heard you reporting earlier in the day when, of course, those intelligence reports were warning of an imminent attack, and you were making the point that that information, despite it being known, it simply didn't cut through in terms of the numbers of desperate people there at the airport who were still coming, who were still staying.
That's exactly right. I mean, so many people who were there, we're talking about thousands, in such a state of confusion, such a state of desperation, that one, they're not going to be hearing this kind of information. They're not going to be receiving that. They're hearing all kinds of other rumors. They're just trying to focus on getting out of the country. The other thing is that they've endured so much already to get to this point. Many have camped out for days in dire conditions. So what may have seemed to them as a vague or possible hypothetical threat earlier in the day would not have been enough to put them off from going to the airport. There would have been large crowds there still. All the reports that I'm getting indicate there was a large crowd at the time of this explosion.
Secunda Kamani in Kabul for us. Let's head to Washington, live to Barbara Plett-Usher. And Barbara, have we had anything from the White House so far?
You know, Matthew, we haven't. The only official communication we've had is from the Pentagon, and that hasn't been devolving very much information. The Pentagon spokesman has said that there are a number of US and civilian casualties, implying that there are US military casualties because he makes that distinction between US and civilian. We have US media reporting that between 3 to 5 military personnel have been injured. And this, of course, would be the scenario that the US was very much wanting to avoid. As Secunda was saying, probably the majority of those dead or wounded are Afghan civilians, but for the administration, they really don't want to have US casualties at the end of this evacuation effort. And so that is the reason they had, we understand, is why President Biden, at least one of them, was reluctant to extend the deadline. And he had begun warning last week publicly about the possibility of an attack by Islamic State group. This is the kind of scenario that intelligence seemed to be suggesting as those warnings got more and more specific. And they do imply that there was very specific intelligence, because the State Department said to Americans yesterday not to go to 3 gates, including this one, Abbey Gate. So that this is something that they seem to have seen coming. In terms of the situation in Washington, Matthew, everything's on hold. We were supposed to have a briefing from the Pentagon an hour and a half ago. That was just a regular briefing that has been delayed indefinitely. The president was supposed to be meeting the Israeli prime minister, but that has also been postponed. Mr. Biden, is in the Situation Room together with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and other people, of course, watching what's happening, getting all the latest information on the situation on the ground and on the latest on casualties.
Really briefly, Barbara, because a number of guests I've talked to in the last hour, very knowledgeable, all making the point they now totally anticipate that the Americans and others won't be able to get their citizens out by the 31st deadline. Are you hearing anything from the Pentagon about whether flights are continuing or have been paused?
We're not hearing anything official at the moment about whether flights are being paused or are continuing. We do know that the flights are taking off or have been taking off, obviously, from a secure place inside the airport, and that the military has always made the point that it was securing that area and the Taliban were securing what was happening outside the airport. So I would say it's not perhaps impossible for those flights to continue, but we have no official indication of that.
All right, Barbara Pletash there in Washington. Thanks once again. The situation extremely fluid on the ground, more detail coming all the time. Let's get the latest on this developing situation with our diplomatic correspondent, Paul Adams.
It's the attack everyone feared. Smoke and gunfire on the edge of Kabul airport. 2 explosions in rapid succession in an area packed with desperate civilians. Shock and panic as the injured are ferried to hospital. Kabul is used to atrocities, but this is the first of its kind since the city fell, targeting the very people most desperate to leave.
People started running away and we got out. I saw at least 400 or 500 people there. The explosion was really powerful. Half were held into the water, others on the ground outside. We carry the wounded here on stretchers, and here, my clothes are completely bloodied.
It happened right on the airport perimeter. One explosion at the Abbey Gate, the other at the nearby Barron Hotel, where evacuees are being processed. Last night, Britain, America, and Australia warned of just such an attack. Do not travel to Kabul airport, the Foreign Office said. If you're in the area, move away to a safe location and wait for further advice.
The threat is credible, it is imminent, it is lethal. We wouldn't be saying this if we weren't genuinely concerned about offering Islamic State a target that is just unimaginable.
No group has yet said it carried out the attack, but on Tuesday, President Biden had this warning.
The longer we stay, starting with the acute and growing risk of an attack by a terrorist group known as ISIS-K, an ISIS affiliate in Afghanistan, which is a sworn enemy of the Taliban as well. Every day we're on the ground is another day we know that ISIS-K is seeking to target the airport and attack both US and allied forces and innocent civilians.
This morning, the Prime Minister visited the crisis centre at Northwood, where Britain's evacuation effort is being run. Staff here still in touch with former Afghan interpreters and others waiting to get out. Boris Johnson says the overwhelming majority have now left. And for those who haven't,
we hope to continue to be able to say to people, well, you can come out. And one of the key things that we're saying to the Taliban, to the government, the new authorities in Kabul is to engage with the West, to unlock those funds. Safe passage is, for those who want to come out, is obviously the #1 condition.
Afghans largely ignored warnings to avoid the airport, such as their determination to leave. But tonight's horrific scenes may now hasten the end of this vast, chaotic mission. Paul Adams, BBC News.
Well, let's speak to Jenna Ben-Yehuda, who's the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Truman National Security Project, which is coordinating with other groups to try to evacuate Afghan allies. Previously, she worked in the Obama and Bush State Departments. Jenna, welcome here to the program. I know you're in conversations with people on the ground as you try to get people out, but what have you heard since these attacks?
Yes, thank you, Matthew. It's true. What is unfolding in Kabul right now is what we had long feared would be the case. And indeed, what the US Embassy had warned was in fact quite imminent. So we know that there are casualties on the ground, that US service members have been reported amongst those, Taliban as well. And I think it's time for the international community to send a swift message to the Taliban. If they cannot provide secure access to the airport and surroundings, then the US troops should be able to do that. That is part of the agreement up until August 31st.
Even as you say that, you will recognize just how complicated that scenario would be.
Certainly, but the Taliban made a commitment. The US has honored their promise in all of this. The Taliban has not. Underreported have been the massive amounts of checkpoints, the searches the Taliban have conducted of the homes of US interpreters to this point, making passage to the airport enormously challenging during this environment. That needs to change. The evacuation date the president has set is August 31st. The US has honored that. The Taliban needs to keep up its end of the bargain, and the international community would do well to press for that. If the Taliban can't secure the area outside of the airport, the US can do it for them, and now is the time.
even before today's attack, you were writing, I read a Politico piece where you were quoted, where you said, I don't think the president's rhetoric matches conditions on the ground. Just describe for me what you see as the mismatch.
Well, President Biden had committed to the evacuation of U.S. partners and allies. There are about 250,000 folks who are eligible for a special immigrant visa and access to safe passage in the United States.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, just tell me a little bit about yourself, will you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Where are you from?
I'm from Murmansk, from Russia.
Say it again.
I'm from Murmansk.
Murmansk?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in the north of Russia.
Yeah, I understand. So if you prefer without video, that's up to you. You can turn it off. It doesn't matter for me if you want to have your video, because sometimes the connection might be very poor. But anyway, right
Okay.
now everything is just good. Okay, so you are from the city of Murmansk, as they said. I heard it that the accent should be on the second syllable, correct? Like Murmansk or Murmansk, which is better?
No, the correct pronunciation is Murmansk.
Okay.
Only the sailors say Murmansk.
Who say? The sailors? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. That's what I heard. All right, and also, just are you a teacher or what?
Yes, I'm an English teacher. Yeah.
And where do you teach?
I teach at school.
Sorry?
Primary school. Primary school.
Primary school. All right.
Yeah.
And the kids, how old are they?
Oh, they are between 8 or 10 years old.
8, 10 years old. Okay, excellent. Right now, I also have a student. She's, I think, 10 years old. Now that's very interesting. What is the book which you teach?
It's a student's book called Spotlight. You have heard about it.
Yeah, I know. But do you like it?
To tell the truth, not. No.
And why is
I
that?
think it's not very interesting. It's not very interesting for students, and it's overloaded with new words, new expressions, and it doesn't have a lot of exercises to practice grammar, and it doesn't pay attention to speaking activity.
Okay, yeah, I know the book. I think that I know it pretty well. Well, sometimes it helps. I can teach this book. I can enjoy the classes there. But anyway, another question is, where did you learn your English?
Okay, I've been learning English for about maybe 15 years, and I started learning it at school. Then I continued learning it at the university, and now I'm learning it by myself.
Yeah, what kind of a school was that? Was it kind of a, sometimes it says, it's a emphasized English, or it was just regular?
Regular school, state school.
Okay, did you go to some English-speaking country?
No, unfortunately no.
Did you visit any other countries except for, the countries around Russia, like Ukraine or Belarus?
No, I've been only in Spain and in Egypt.
In Egypt?
Yeah.
Okay, because the sound is breaking a little bit. That's why I'm saying that probably video is not a very good idea. But anyway.
Okay, I can switch it off.
Yeah, that's all right. That's up to you. So that's Spain and Spain and Egypt. Yeah, and did you use your English there?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, yeah, very good. And so you survived, correct?
Yes.
All right, very good. Were you alone or with your family?
Travel, you mean traveling?
Yeah.
Yeah. I traveled with my family, with my friends and my family.
And so you were the only translator, let's say, for everybody.
When I was in Egypt, I was with my friend and he knew English very well as well. But when I was in Spain, yes, I was with my family and I was the only person who would speak English.
Okay, and so you managed, right?
Yeah.
Very good, excellent, very good. So now, what are your interests? What are your hobbies? Because it's very necessary for me to know, because during the classes, and I want to say that usually I have some 4 or 5 people attending, but what happened today, so two boys, they were supposed to come, but one of them is sick, and another, I have no idea, he didn't let me know what's going on. And then tonight, a couple of ladies, young ladies, were just asking, but they didn't show up. It just happened that you are alone, but anyway, it's okay. So do not forget that we will have this session, we will have till 7:40, because it's just like you are the only person, okay? At 7:40, I will just stop our conversation. Now, the question is about your interests and your hobbies. What are your interests? What are your hobbies?
Okay, my main hobby, I think, is traveling. I'm keen on traveling and I like doing it. I travel a lot, but maybe only in summer when I'm on a holiday. But I like to travel more.
Okay. And so just the question going from here, like that is why you like English, that is why you need English, or you have something else in your mind?
Yes, I like English because I like traveling, but it's not the only reason why I like English. I have been interested in English since my childhood, since the first lesson I had at school, and now I like it very much, and I'm keen on English, and I like everything in English. I like listening, I like watching videos, I like speaking, I like doing exercises on grammar, everything connected with English.
Okay, so we did some kind of an introduction. We greeted each other, and then we got to know a little bit each other. If you have any questions to me, just feel free. I will try my best to answer. Do you have any questions to me?
Yes, it's very interesting for me where you are from.
Well, you know that it's not an easy question, because my dad used to be a military, and that means that we traveled all around the former Soviet Union. So we lived in so many cities that when you say which city you are from, it's real hard for me to answer, because what I heard about Murmansk, that's what I heard from my dad. He was actually in Murmansk. He was, because of his job. I wasn't there. And so I can just mention a couple of cities I used to live. It was in the city of Donetsk in Ukraine. It was the city of Ufa in Russian Federation. Right now, I live in the city of Vladikavkaz, which is North Ossetia in Caucasus Mountains. because my parents, they lived and they died and they buried here. So I have their graves and I look after their graves. So that's why I'm here right now. So does it answer your question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And what's your occupation? Are you a teacher?
Well, right now, I'm a retired person, and of course, I'm a teacher. As according to my education, I graduated so-called teachers training, but in Russia it's called university or institute. Then of course, I worked as a translator, and I quit the translator's job only in April 2021 because of the COVID situation. That it's no way to travel, no way to go to another country, and no way for the Americans or English-speaking people to come to Russia. So that's why I quit. But still, I'm looking for any kind of translator's job. It can be translating in writing, not only oral translation. So that's what I am right now.
Okay, and I'd like to ask you about the speaking club. Why have you created it? What's your purpose?
It's a very easy question. It's kind of a promotion for having classes on the internet. Usually, I hold this English-speaking conversational clubs just to attract students, because that most of the students in the Russian Federation, I mean the young kids, like let's say teenagers or those who graduate from high school, their knowledge of the English language is very limited, I would say. Even when they have this 98 or 90 score, 90 points in the Russian national exam, still they have no idea about the real stuff which they are supposed to know when they learn the English language. So that's how I tend to promote, so that the previous session when we met, it was Thursday, it was August 19, as I remember. Yeah, I had two guys, two young boys. One is the second year of the Moscow University, and another is just a graduate from high school. And so they were talking to each other. And usually I do not talk during the conversational class. I just listen to other people talking. But today we have only one person, so that's why. And so when they were talking, I just reminded them several times that, hey guys, I understand that what you're doing right now is just kind of you try to make a conversation, but this is not what is actually necessary for you to know. And of course, I will just try and reveal a little bit, but most of the stuff I will just teach you during my paid classes. This is only the promotional classes, okay?
I see, yeah, okay. And have you passed any exams?
In English? Well, I know that in the year 2006, I took the TOEFL test. After that, I didn't have a chance, and there was no necessity for me to take any of these tests. But usually I take lots of tests for lots of translators agencies, because before hiring me, when they just accept the job, but before just admitting me, they will usually offer a test, And so let's say that last time I had a test maybe this week or at most the previous week. So I pretty well know what stuff is the tests are.
And what about translation? Do you like oral translation?
Well, you know that my kind of let's say I was specialized in so-called simultaneous translation.
Yeah.
You know, usually it's a very special equipment, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot because the only problem is that it's very exhausting, of course, but otherwise I loved it.
I've heard that the oral translators can work only for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's
correct.
well, this is you know, that's what we call it's old wives' tale. But yeah, that's usually about the translators in the United Nations organization in New York. Probably yes, there it's like that, but in a practical job, you know, my last job was about farming. It was a dairy. So just think about a cow dairy. You come, you sleep somewhere in the hotel. I mean the village hotel, and then at 4 a.m. in the morning you are supposed to be at your job place, and then you work till let's say 1 a.m. in the morning the next day, because you know that first of all, those are animals. You have to work with the animals, and the animals, they do not care whether you have a holiday or you have a Sunday, you know, or vacation. They just don't care. They need your treatment. They need your care, and so even when you leave the dairy, let's say at around 6 or 7 p.m. In the evening. So after that, you know that according to the Russian traditions, so the company, the team will join to have some, let's say, festive dinner where there will be some kind of drinking, and I will be supposed to translate all of this stuff also. So my job will go on till after midnight.
And what about very interesting Russian expressions? Is it difficult to translate them? For example, I've heard, I can give you an example. When Putin had a speech, he said something like "гонял его как вшивого по бане," and I saw the face expression of translator. He was very amazed, and how can you translate such expressions?
Olga, I'm very sorry. Just listen to what is coming from your end so that you will understand. It's not that easy for me to understand what you're saying. Okay, just listen. All right. Sorry.
Had a speech. He said something like "гонял его как вшивого по бане," and I saw the face expression of translator.
So you can understand that the sound coming from you is not that very clear. If you please, yeah, just say it again. What was that?
Russian expression.
Yes, because I didn't understand.
Гонял его как вшивого по бане, if I'm not mistaken. Гонять как вшивого по бане.
Well, you know that the translations of yeah, how can I say? Because it was several times when I had to translate, let's say, not the president. Once I was supposed to translate the president, but I didn't. My colleague, my fellow, helped me, and he translated. But you know that when you translate the people like this. Kind of a tier, which is level. Usually, this you know the vocabulary of this person, and so that means that you usually are kind of prepared, and you know what to expect. That's for starters, and I know, not personally, of course, but I know a couple of the translators. I followed how they work with Mr. President of Russia, and I can very easily see that they are really prepared. That means that most of the times the president, Mr. President, will tell them ahead of time before the meeting he's going to use something like that, because yeah, that's not that easy. But anyway, I can think of many cases, many occasions when the person who I translated for used the phrases, like you said, in Russian or even in English. And so I had to somehow to relay the meaning of what was said. So let's think of the closest way. So first of all, you know that the person who has lice, that's the first thing which comes up into my head. And so let's say that you are enjoying the hot bath in the Russian sauna, Russian banya, and you have to, you have to lash this person with the branches, with the twigs of, let's say, the birch tree, so that you will try to expel this lice out of the person's body. And so that is why this is how I understand this set phrase. So that's my understanding. Then another thing is what you didn't say. You didn't say what was the context. Why would the person do that? So that's the most important meeting. So why did he use this set phrase?
I don't remember exactly, but if I'm not mistaken, it was connected. Yeah, it was connected with Saakashvili, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, again, you know, that's I do not even understand the meaning of the Russian saying.
Yeah.
Why would just let's forget about Mr. President and about Saakashvili. Just let's say about lay people like you and me. Why would you say to somebody this set phrase? Just give me a context, because I do not understand the meaning.
Okay.
When would you use this phrase?
Okay. When he okay, when your people, your nation don't wait you at home on motherland, you are abroad, and he said if I'm not mistaken, at the time he was in Ukraine, and then he was not. He was a non-ground person, and people don't want him in the countries in Ukraine, in Georgia, and so he said this phrase.
All
He was
right.
an unwilling person. Yeah.
I understand. Now I kind of get. So that's exactly what you said. They were just chasing out the unwanted person. So that's
Yeah.
the meaning. That's it's like chasing out the unwanted person. This is what how I would relay to my American colleagues. If I had to, I would relate something like that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Very
All
interesting.
right. Yeah, that's not a problem. Olga, let me just tell you, because we do not have a lot of time left. Let me just remind you over again the whole process. Let's say the whole procedure of the Conversational Club. As I said, that first of all, we do the greetings, okay? And you know that the greeting is, these are greetings like, hello, how are you doing? And then after that, we usually share a little bit about the news. So it's kind of a must. Every class, I will just ask you, hello, how are you doing? What's new? And then you are supposed to say, let's say, 2 or 3 sentences about your latest news. And of course, you are not supposed to tell me something personal. No, of course, you know, it's just for the sake of a conversation only. And after that, you know that when you have other people, then I will just ask you to talk to each other and to get to know each other. But if we are one-on-one like we have it today, so, and usually for everybody, you have to get prepared with a big question for a discussion. We call it a big question. What I mean here is just you come to the English club and you say that after all of these greetings part, you say that I have a big question for today to discuss, and here is the picture. Usually you also prepare a picture for this big question. Like, let's say you want to talk about, I don't know, your favorite movie, okay?
Okay.
And you just present a picture of your favorite movie. And so so that we will understand what you're talking about, not only with the context of the question, but also with the picture, because, you know, the picture tells much more than we can tell in the English language, because this is not our native language, you know. So when we have a question and a picture, then it's, let's say, around 80% we understand what you want to know, okay? So that's clear, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think that this is all which I wanted to say today. Maybe you have a big question for today. Just let's say we will talk a little bit and then we will round up for now. Okay, do you have kind of a big question to discuss?
I don't know. I wasn't prepared for this.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Just take your time, just a little bit. Yeah, try to focus, try to concentrate, because this is the real conversational club. When I put you in so-called in the spotlight, you know, because speaking in the different languages, usually you are in the spotlight. It's kind of a, sometimes you call it a language barrier, because it's hard, it's tough, it's a very difficult task, but you have to overcome this difficult task. You have to talk, you have to speak. So that is why take your time, just take control and just, I know that you have something good to discuss.
Okay, let me think. Okay, maybe it will be related with holiday, as I've just returned from my holiday. The big question is maybe the way of traveling, the best way of traveling.
For me, what I think about the best way of traveling, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. You see, in this case, it will be much more easier if you have a picture. But I understand that it's kind of a home task. So that is why I wouldn't say that I clearly understand what you mean, but that is why we need a picture. But anyway, the best way of traveling, well, you know, if you travel to the United States of America, the only way to, yeah, you can take a boat. Yeah, I understand, but it will take you a lot of time to travel by boat. So usually you take a plane, right? So that means that not a lot to choose from, right? Then if you think of traveling in Russia, again, like, you know, if I'm on a very limited budget, so then probably I will travel by train, or even maybe I will travel by car, because, you know, I had several times I had to travel a long way by car, like, you know, from my city to Ufa, which is more than 2,000 kilometers one way. So two ways it will be 4,500 kilometers. So that's why it's I wouldn't say that I very clearly see the point. Okay, how about you? What is the best way for you to travel?
Okay, for me, the best way to travel is plane. It's because it's convenient and the fastest means of transport, and you can easily get from one point to another. And sometimes I prefer traveling by train because I like maybe different views, and I like relaxing in the train, just read a book and to have my time on the train. Yes, so these are my two favorite means of transport, ways of traveling: by bus or by train and by plane.
Okay, yeah, that answers your question. Thank you so much. So that's it for tonight. Now, did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Okay.
Yeah, I did. Thank you very much. It was very interesting.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure, definitely, and you are very welcome to come another class. Just keep in mind that usually I have the students, like, as I said, first, second, third, fourth, fifth year of the university or college. Then the teenagers, the students who just graduated, and so on. But anyway, they are very tolerant. Just keep in mind, I never allow anybody with abusive or insulting intentions. You know, I worked on that because I've been doing these classes, let's say, beginning with the year 2012. So it's almost 10 years now, every week. So that is why I've seen lots of punks, lots of thugs, lots of you know, very bad guys, and just believe me that nobody will ever say anything bad during classes or anything inappropriate. So you're very welcome and please come next class and invite your friends.
Okay, thank you. And if I'm not mistaken, it will be on Thursdays. Yeah.
Yeah, next Thursday at 7 p.m. Maybe
Okay.
I can move it a little bit earlier, like 6 p.m. Moscow time, or move it later, like 8 p.m. But there will be an announcement about that. Okay. Any other questions?
No, thank you. Everything is clear.
Yeah, and I would like you to just get prepared with the questions about your teaching, because this is, for me, this is really important. What I teach now, I teach fun for starters, and I have lots of stuff to talk about that. So if you want to, we can just have a session only talking about teaching the young students, like 8, 9, 10 years. It will be very interesting for me. Okay, just get prepared with that. All right, it's kind of a home assignment for you. All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
yeah.
I will do it.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, and bye for now.
Bye bye. Thank you.